bunch of topics to talk about today. Well, a bunch being like 4 of them, I think. But yeah, wanted to talk a little bit about these. I want to talk first of all about why I got back on a motorcycle. Alright, why did I get back on a motorcycle? I didn't ride when I moved to the more city, still suburban area, alright? It was one of those things where, you know, I couldn't ride like I used to anymore, right? I wasn't willing to ride in that area. So why did I wait before getting onto a bike again? Almost actually, it was a little bit longer than 2 years. So here's the thing, I had planned on going back onto 2 wheels, but I didn't exactly know when I would do it. And I thought, yeah, someday, you know, someday, like, you know, maybe when I'm a little older, and I decide that I want to get back on one, you know. But I thought about it for a little bit. I don't know if we're necessarily supposed to be on that side of the road. I'm just going to ride off center line here. Oh, they're still working on this. They were working on this the last time I was out here. So I figured, yeah, I'll get back on a bike eventually, and I was looking instead into buying an exotic car. I'm a little bit really more of a 4-wheel guy than a 2-wheel guy, at least I say that right now, but I was looking to get into an exotic, and let's just say the car that took me 6 months to find, which was of a certain Italian manufacturer, I came 2 days from collecting that car. Essentially, what happened was I had found the one car I wanted, and, you know, again, I spent a long time looking for it, a long time finding it, and for whatever reason, there she is, and for whatever reason, just before I was getting ready to get on a plane, 2 days before the plane, and getting ready to physically move funds, I guess you could say, getting ready to pay for this car, just after I paid for the pre-purchase inspection, I found it in Florida, just after I paid for the pre-purchase inspection from who I thought was a very responsible owner, after he pulls, check this out, after he pulls out of the dealership on his way home to have the car detailed before I jumped on a plane 2 days later to fly over there and drive it back, was going to be the plan, he totaled the car. He rear-ended a truck. I think what happened, the tires were decent, but this particular car is only 2,500 pounds, and I think maybe they were just a little cold and someone cut them off, and I don't know. I don't really understand what happened. To me, I think I would keep enough distance, especially if I know I'm just literally around the corner from selling the car. I think I might put a little bit more, you know, I might be a little more careful if that were me, but whatever. It happens. So he totaled the car, and this was only maybe a month and a half before I jumped onto this bike. So I figured, okay, at this point in time, It was going into July, and I figured if I get this car now, it's going to spend, I live in Virginia, right? So, in Northern Virginia. So I was going to spend a set amount of figure on this machine, and the stuff that I'm doing now, back roads out in the middle of nowhere, that's what I see in a vehicle like that, or taking it, if it's a car, taking it straight to the racetrack and working on lap times, if time permits, which I don't have that much time. I spent a long time trying to get a day a week so that I could ride. As a matter of fact, I spent about 6 years trying to get that back. But anyway, so I figured the next thing I wanted to do that was going to be less money, where I could still justify spending it to enjoy the summer, you know, and then of course putting it away and all that stuff, right? The next thing in line was to get back onto two wheels, onto a motorcycle. And I commuted on one for about 6 years on roads not unlike the ones that I'm on now, these types. I commuted, and it was fun because it was fairly fuel efficient. It saved a good amount of gas. I think I was getting 57 miles to the gallon on my Ninja 650. Such a great bike. I mean, that was such a fantastic machine. I've commented before in a previous video that it was a 2007, but yeah, so the sign is telling me to slow down. So I jumped onto this instead, and I figured I just put about 6 very difficult years of my life into starting a business, specifically a software company. And you know, it was a pain, it was difficult, and I think those of you who are watching this who may be entrepreneurs or have a side hustle or just work really, really, really hard to get to the top of wherever you are, it doesn't even matter whether you're self-employed or not. You understand that sometimes you have to really put a lot of time in life and just grind for a considerably long time. And you know, this is one of those times where I just didn't want to I didn't want to be a slave to that forever. So I only ride, I ride for maybe 5 to 6 hours once a week on this bike, but yeah, I got back into it because I figured this is another interest, it's another hobby that I have next to 4 wheels. I think this is the extent of it, really. I don't plan on riding on a racetrack. I've spent a considerable amount of time on a racetrack on 4 wheels, hundreds and hundreds of hours. But you know, this is different. And here's another thing, and I think those of you who ride will agree with me. What's going on, Harley? So I think those of you who ride may agree with me with this statement, but the level where I am when it comes to driving a car, I'm a BMW M guy, right? I've had BMW M cars, many of them, for a number of many years now. I don't know, 13, 14 years now. And the one thing that I've kind of learned is I get bored driving higher performance or high performance vehicles on the road when I'm driving them frequently, right? I do get bored doing that, and in the case of a motorcycle, I feel like it's the one type of machine that I enjoy where I don't have to be going to 9/10 100% of the time, you know, or doing anything extremely stupid on the road to enjoy it. Unfortunately, I don't feel the same way in a car. In a car, I feel like, you know, unless I'm on its limits of traction, which is anything but safe on the road, unless I'm on those limits, then it's not necessarily the best idea for cruising, right? For driving on the road, it's not the best idea to be, you know, on a four-wheel platform if that's all you want. Now, I say that now, and I probably will still pick up an exotic here because I have a huge passion in cars. You know, the fun for me is being able to take those cars to their limits on a racetrack when you work really hard in life and go through what feels like self-imprisonment, extreme amounts of depression, a lot of doubt. Any of you who I know are entrepreneurs are probably nodding your head right now like, yep, that's what it takes. Well, I feel like if you're going to work that hard to achieve something and spend so much time failing until you achieve it, that you should also be able to enjoy yourself too. So I figured, yeah, I'll probably get back onto the four wheels that I want, right? But in the meantime, I needed another out. You know, I needed a place where I could just kind of relax. And you know, I thought about it. It's pretty economical, not always practical. In fact, it's probably the least practical of a lot of different things, but it's pretty economical to own a motorcycle. You don't have to spend, you know, an arm and a leg to get onto these, and I think that's also a problem though, because I think it might make them too easy for people who are really young and not necessarily prepared for the responsibilities and dangers of riding a motorcycle. I think that sometimes the fact that they are, in the grand scheme of things, so affordable, right? They're relatively affordable. I think that can also be a little bit of an issue. Maybe that's one of the drawbacks to, you know, the enjoyment and sport and fun of riding is really anybody, you know, with a little bit of money put aside can get into it, and it's not for everybody. I've mentioned this before when I did the review of this bike, which if you haven't seen, it's right there on my channel. At the time of recording this, it is the only other video on my channel, but I think it's just important to really have the appreciation that motorcycles are not for everybody. And if you go to get on a bike, you're already taking an inherent risk. And you know, your level of comfort with physics, comfort with that risk, your ability to manage that risk as safely as possible, which should always be your goal. And then finally, your comfort with just general mechanics, understanding the machine, physics, all of those things. That's really important if you're ever going to get on a bike. And that doesn't guarantee anything, obviously. There are no guarantees, but you know, at least it gives you a little bit of a cushion of understanding. And that brings me to the next topic. So that's why I got back on two wheels, right? Just to enjoy, you know, just a little bit of leisure time. You know, I haven't had time to do this in years. And, you know, I feel like I might even be better, you know, performing in my business because I give myself the mental break, and it's important to do that. I didn't really value, you know when they say you need to give yourself time? I didn't really value that. In my head, I was like, yeah, bullshit, whatever. You know, those are for slouches. People who give themselves times are for people who are lazy and don't, you know, enjoy themselves. But, and I think there's obviously a balance there, but I think I didn't give myself time at all, to the point where it was becoming very, very mentally unhealthy. And you know, to be putting, you know, as much time as I possibly can into my work. I never made time for myself, and I try and make time to take care of myself. You know, I exercise a minimum of 3 and as many as 6 times a week. You know, I go to a gym, and I try and do that. I try to eat healthier every year. I try and, you know, stay in shape and all that. But, you know, I have a love for machines that are powered by engines. You know what I mean? I always have. And this is just another one of those. So, wrapping that up. The next thing I wanted to talk about, which is going to be number 2, is for those of you who are just getting started in riding. I want to talk a little bit about gear real quick. I know it is much more comfortable for the most part to ride a motorcycle without gear. I get that, right? It's bulky, it's heavy, it's cumbersome. It doesn't really give you the best range of motion when you go to stretch, get off the bike. And, you know, it's a lot that you're constantly moving around in, and it can get annoying, and I got that. But for those of you who may not have given as much thought into what happens, you have to keep in mind, impact is very bad, yes, but abrasion happens very quickly and badly. If something bad, I'm doing 54, 55 miles an hour right now. If I go down and I'm not wearing my gear, I can literally be skinned alive. I can be skinned so badly that I'm either passing out from the pain and am unable to help myself, or I'm just flat out bleeding out and dying right there on the road. And, you know, padding is important too, because, yeah, I gotta open my visor real quick. Padding is important too, because, you know, it's not just, you know, the sliding down the road that can do serious damage to your body, but it's the impact and the fall onto pavement. At the end of the day, human beings were not meant to fall when they're moving this fast, right? We were not meant to do that. I mean, shit, some of us badly injure ourselves, you know, just from falling by walking or running. So what gives us any more defense at considerably higher speeds, much higher than any human being could ever run at, right? So here's the thing, you really want to must be pollen outside, you really want to invest in good quality gear. I think every single thing I own is Alpine Stars. Dainese, if I'm saying it right, Dainese. They're a great company too. I feel like the gear they make might be a little bit more form-fitting. And I know everybody makes a little bit of everything, but I don't know. I feel like I see more form-fitting Dainese gear than Alpine Stars. But I don't know. I've always bought Alpine Stars. I'm kind of used to how they do things. They make pretty good jackets, and they make decent Velcro. The Velcro sucked on my first jacket, but that was a while ago. Do your homework on your gear. I did a considerable amount of research before I got this, but I'm what they call an ATGATT, all the gear, all the time. And that means helmet, I got a balaclava on underneath for the sweat, a jacket, and pants. I have full boots, gauntlet gloves, boots coming all the way up to my shins, and then where they end, I have shin protectors and the riding pants. So definitely invest in this stuff, guys. I know for some of you, I get it. It's expensive, and it's like, damn it, I just saved up all this money to buy the bike. Now I gotta spend. I know it's expensive, but I've seen some really bad things, some really disturbing things, and you really don't appreciate them, you know, until you see it happen to someone else. And some people don't appreciate it until it happens to them, and unfortunately at that point it's too late. So yeah, definitely where's this guy going? Definitely consider that, because little things like that are important. Alright, time to get some H2O and hydrate, and we'll be back in just a few minutes. road again. Remember the last time I did that? I forgot to fasten my helmet. That hasn't happened in a really long time. Like a really long time. Alright, so next thing I want to bring to your attention is anti-theft procedures. On just before I was on my way to pick up the bike and come out and ride today, one of my friends called me and said, "Hey, did you hear about the bad news?" Which is usually rhetorical for I'm about to tell you the bad news, right? So, of course, no, I haven't. What's going on? So my bike was stolen. He had just bought, I think, a brand new, beautiful, by the way, pearl white Ninja ZX6R, I believe. That was gorgeous. It was so nice. He had it for a few months, and apparently his wife said, "Hey, it looks like it could get easily stolen just sitting where you put it in front of the house." And he acknowledged it. He told me several times, and then it actually happened. He said he got it on video, but he said some very professional thieves grabbed this thing at like 3 a.m. And anyway, that's a little bit of a, it's a reminder. It's not a wake-up call, but if you have to keep your bike somewhere where it's exposed, you know, even if you cover it, which, remember, a cover is still a deterrent, because if you put a cover over the bike and you tie it down, that's a lot of time somebody has to take to figure it out. I do a certain combination of sailor's knots, and I'm not going to say what they are, when I used to keep my bike. This bike does not sit outside, but when my last one did, and I had a certain combination of knots that I did, which I know that's not saying a lot. Anybody can just cut a string, but when you tie it way underneath, like way back up underneath the cover, it just means somebody has to work on it longer, which hopefully would deter them somewhat from, you know, hopefully deter them from stealing your bike. And he said that this person, I guess he has a camera in front of his house. He said this person, or these people, there was several people, knew what they were doing. They picked it up and they threw it into, I think, a van or a truck or something. And he said they were very quick and familiar with the ignition. And I feel bad because he just bought this thing, and it's like, okay, well, yeah, even if you call the insurance company and, you know, and they take care of that, and, you know, you don't have to worry about GAP and all that stuff, it still sucks to get your shit taken, right? So that's just another reminder for today is, you know, please be on the lookout for that. If you invest in your bike, if you invest in taking a safety course, if you invest in the safest gear you can afford, and I'm sure you're not, you know, riding some piece of shit, I'm sure you're, you know, getting the best you can, again, comfortably afford to get, then it's just a good idea. Think about, you know, the contingencies as to what you'll do if anything ever happens to your machine. Oh my god, the girl driving that Corolla that just pulled out looks like she was 13. I was never that young. Was I ever 15 years old? Or 16, whatever. It's kind of scary. Tobacco hut. Vape, cigars, CBD. I wonder when it's going to start saying weed. I wonder when that's going to become a thing. Anyway. Probably shouldn't have used the quick shifter for that. I've always said that the quick shifter is really good for when you need quick shifts, right? Unlike the application that I just put forth. Well, I guess you're not turning. Interesting. Okay. Now you're turning there. All right. Burger King, McDonald's, Martin's Food Pharmacy. It's a bright one today. Notice I'm intentionally going a little bit over the speed limit just so that I can stay away from traffic. Remember, on a motorcycle you've got a bunch of advantages. There are a lot of disadvantages, right? I mean, you're out in the elements, you're on a bike, there's an inherent risk just from that alone, but you also have to keep in mind some of the advantages you have is that you can get the hell out of the way pretty quickly, much faster than you can in a car. You know, you occupy a third the space that, you know, that a car does, and you can accelerate much faster than a car. I think you can brake much faster than a car. I'm sure there's some cars out there that might be able to outstop a motorcycle, but you know, motorcycles can stop really, really quickly. So little things like that are nice to remember. You know, it's good to remember things like that. Bike doesn't want you to go further than that. I got it. Alright. There it is. There's the threshold. Of course, my lean angle sensor is probably not recording that. Well, now we know. Okay, down the mountain we go. Okay, cruise control is off, not that that matters. We're just going to catch up with whoever was in front of us. Alright, well, we had our fun. It's about the extent of it, I think. Yeah. Oh well. Well, that was the peg. 211. Fun road. Gotta be careful. You definitely need gear discipline on this road a lot. You know, if you are in too high of a gear, you will not make these turns, but just like any turn. But I'll tell you, this is a lot of fun. You just have to be, you know, you got to be careful, and you got to keep an eye on what you're doing. We can go back into road mode. There's road. Okay.